Thanks for tuning in to leftcoastnews.net. News and information from the wacky, sometimes communist, liberal west coast of the United States. For more, visit leftcoastnews.net.
Well, here's something y'all better get used to in Seattle. This is from October 15th. This is before you even elected your socialist communist mayor, who is definitely going to be doing more of this as soon as she gets herself into the office officially. Seattle City Council approved a proposal from Mayor Bruce Harrell to increase Seattle's sales tax to fund public safety programs in the city. Tuesday's 8-1 vote now provides a funding framework for the mayor's public safety priorities, like hiring additional staffing for the city's care department. CARE, which stands for Community Assisted Response and Engagement, screens 911 calls and dispatches emergency services. So it is the 911 center. The 0.1% increase is expected to raise $39 million in its first year and comes as the city grapples with funding essential services in the midst of a $143 million budget shortfall. Council President Sarah Nelson voted in favor of the tax but voiced reservations. "I don't like that this is a regressive tax." Yeah, Nelson said, "but this isn't about raising taxes on working families. This is about using public safety dollars for public safety." No, it's about raising taxes on working families because that is who this sales tax directly affects. Working people who need to buy stuff, poor people who already don't have enough money. But hey, take. Harrell rolled out his proposal for the new tax in September, following a move from the state legislature giving local jurisdictions the authority to impose an additional 0.1% local sales tax to fund public safety. The King County Council approved their own 0.1 sales tax increase in July, which comes on top of the council-approved increase. Under the new rates, consumers in Seattle would see the tax on most purchases go from 10.35%, 10.5%, to 10.55%, an increase that pushed Councilmember Maritza Rivera to cast the lone no vote. This tax proposal is of concern to me because basically what it does is tax poor people to help poor people, Rivera said. Instead of increasing the sales tax, Rivera argued the council should look at the city's existing budget and find ways to fund safety programs. Safety is the basic thing that these governments should be funding. Public safety before anything else. Before all these pet projects, homeless projects, drug giveaways, whatever other junk these ridiculous Democrats come up with to pay for. I hope this is the last sales tax we approve. I sincerely mean that, Councilmember Alexis Mercedes Rink said, and instead we pursue much more progressive revenue options moving forward, like taxing the rich, like taxing people who make over $100,000, which isn't rich in Seattle. In an emailed statement to KUOW, Mayor Harrell called the increased sales tax another tool, speaking of another tool, to help the city build more effective public safety systems. The new sales tax rate is expected to take effect on January 1st, 2026. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Your life just got more expensive in Seattle and is going to continue to do so. And the hilarious thing is I see all these Democrat voters making every freaking excuse in the book about why we need these taxes and it's not that bad and it's needed and just making excuses. You're hurting the people you claim to care about so much, the poor. It's a bunch of garbage. The government already takes too much of our hard-earned money and misuses it, misallocates it, misspends it. There's no accountability. There's no tracking of where the money goes. They just waste it. I wouldn't buy anything in the city of Seattle if I was you. I would find someplace outside of town to buy. I would move the hell out of that city if I was you before things get so bad. They're going to increase property taxes. And if you think because you rent, that's not going to affect you, that your rent isn't going to go up because of that, well, you're going to see. You're going to see what happens. Such forward thinking by such intelligent politicians and the people who voted for them. Well, Seattle, you're getting a price increase in sales tax, and housing is also about to go up under your dear leader. Permit fees at the Seattle Department of Construction and Inspections are set to go up next year in a move that department officials are calling a direct response to a structural change in building activity in the city. Yeah, because there is none. There are no office spaces being built. 30 some odd % office space that's currently there is empty. People are moving away because of these taxes. Nobody's going to build anything in the city of Seattle with taxes like what I'm about to tell you. The fee hike, which adds an 18% increase on top of a 6.5% adjustment for inflation, was adopted yesterday by the Seattle City Council's Budget Committee. It comes at a time when the number of new homes entering the development pipeline remains low. I wonder why, compared to historical levels. The fee adjustments are intended to stave off significant budget cuts at the department and stabilize its revenue, which is 90% dependent on collecting permit fees from builders. Even so, the budget sunsets or defunds around a dozen full-time positions at SDCI. Those staff reductions come on top of cuts enacted last year. Without adjusting fees, the department's core staffing reserve would be on track to be completely exhausted by the end of 2026. Good. Get rid of it. If you want to see prices come down on housing or more houses being built, get rid of the red tape. With the adjustments, a homeowner looking to build a 500 square foot backyard cottage will pay an additional $543 for permits. 500 square feet. That's insane. $543 for 500 square feet. The developer of a 230-unit apartment building will pay an additional $50,000 for a permit. This is insane. And as this SDCI officials explained to council members Monday, the adjustments signal a broader recalibration of the city's construction market as fewer large commercial office buildings and high-rise residential projects move forward. No shit. I wonder why. Projects that bring in higher permit fees under the city's tiered fee structure. It's all about fees. It's all about getting their cut of whatever you're trying to do. People get pissed off at homeowners and landlords. Why aren't you pissed off at the city for this? You think this doesn't contribute to your high housing costs? Over the past decade, we've seen a lot of larger, high-value projects coming in the door, which brings in a lot more revenue compared to smaller, mid-sized projects, and it has sustained us quite a bit over the years, and there's a structural change in the types of projects coming in the door now, SDCI Financial Director Shane Muchow told the council. So we have a lot of these smaller and mid-sized projects coming in the door, and the amount of revenue that we are earning from those projects is not enough to cover the cost of doing business. Their cost of doing business is more important than building the homes or apartments that are needed in Seattle. While the number of construction permits issued by the SDCI has been rebounding in recent months after reaching a low point in 2023, the valuation of those permits has not been rebounding, a fact that reflects the dearth of larger projects that have been commonplace in the city. Fewer construction cranes downtown ultimately meant the SDCI needed to find a way to recoup more revenue from lower value permits. If the boom in smaller housing projects prompted by recent changes to encourage development in the city's lower density zones actually materializes, it won't. That structural imbalance may very well continue indefinitely, and the city's commercial building market shows no signs of an uptick in the near future because of policies like this. You people don't get it. You cannot have regressive taxes like this on everything and expect people or businesses to be there. We historically tied the cost of that permit to the value of the project because that was seen as essentially a proxy for the relative complexity, a proxy for the amount of time, Central Staff Director Ben Noble said. As it turns out, we were probably in some sense overcharging the big projects. They were a source of revenue that helped keep the fees down for the smaller projects. Larger projects have gone away on the whole, so we are now left to recover fees from a smaller set of projects that have less value. Monday's procedural vote to increase the permit fees actually ultimately passed only on a 5-3 vote after concerns were raised by Council President Sarah Nelson and Council Member Maritza Rivera, but coming on a final day of procedural votes ahead of a final committee vote Thursday, the ability to avert the change without unbalancing the carefully assembled 2026 budget by millions of dollars was limited. Mark Solomon joined Nelson and Rivera in voting no. It is a really hard vote because I don't like saddling the projects that are least in a position to absorb these costs than the bigger projects that are in a better position to absorb the costs, Rivera said Monday. This is really, it's difficult. We're trying to incentivize more development across the city. Oh yeah, well that's not going to work. Everything's getting more and more expensive, and that just makes it hard, and to pretend it's not hard does a disservice. At a September 30th budget work session where SDCI officials presented the draft budget, it was council members Alexis Mercedes Rennick and Deborah Juarez who flagged the fee increases. However, no subsequent budget amendment attracted enough to support to advance throughout October. This is a small drop in the bucket for a lot of projects. Okay. Not for these small people trying to build stuff. You're pinching every penny. That's a shitty attitude to approach this with. Oh, it's a drop in the bucket. They can afford it. Says who? I think what they're looking for are reduced interest rates, better economic conditions, more macroeconomic changes that can help drive the development, Munchow told Juarez in response to a question about whether the city expects its permit fee increase to broadly impact the viability of building projects. I don't think this is going to affect that. Idiot. Nelson, who's set to leave office at the end of the year, suggested that funding to offset the increases should come from underspend dollars or dollars that are left at the end of the year when departments aren't able to fully allocate them to projects. The underspend at the city's Office of Housing has been a particular target for Nelson, despite the fact that many of the large complex housing projects funded by the city would not move forward without the dollars put in by the city on a first-in basis. While the underspend at a specific department might be significant in a given year, these dollars carry forward to fund their intended purpose, and diverting them away would ultimately impact city services and commitments. What I think is good policy is sending the signal that we want more economic activity in this town. Oh, well, not by passing all these taxes. That's not how that works. We want more building, we want more housing, etc. And so to me, this is sending the wrong signal at precisely the wrong time, Nelson said. Meanwhile, we know that there are $10 million regularly in the underspend. And so to me, it seems as though we really do have to prioritize both our human capital and the future of the city and wanting to attract more business growth in building and housing. And so that's where I'm coming from. Ultimately, the hope is that with the larger permit fees, SDCI can maintain its staffing levels through until the city's next building boom. It's not coming anytime soon. A prospect that looks dimmer and dimmer as the clouds of potential nationwide recession on the horizon continue to gather. This isn't a national problem. This is a local problem where you can't control your spending or the amount of tax that you need to take from people. Even with the $8 to $9 million added to SDCI's coffers under current projections, the department is still set to use up more than $10 million from its reserve fund in 26 and 2027. SDCI recognizes the historical cyclical nature of the building business, so in good times it very purposely builds up its reserves, potentially very significant reserves, Noble said. These cost centers are running in the red. We are spending more on the staff than we are in taking fees right now, and we are running down those balances. We are doing this very purposely to keep, I'm going to invoke some economist speak here, to keep our human capital. Lay off the staff. If you can't afford it and there aren't even enough projects, you don't need them. So we have a bunch of city folks who are very well trained in this work, and if we let them all go during slow times, when the better times come, we have to go find them again, maybe not the same people, and then retrain them. Oh well, that's the cost of doing business. You don't pay for staff you don't need. That is not how you run a business, but that is how government does shit. Waste money. Cut staff. No projects, no work. Sorry. Maybe you will have to retrain people someday. Oh well. No private business would operate like that. Only some dumbass government office would say something stupid like that. You're going to keep staff just because they're well trained and because you feel bad about letting them go. That's not how business works, buddy. These people are the stewards of your tax dollars. And clearly, they're not very good at their jobs. More waste. And they'll just continue to take more from you so they can continue to waste the money. What's it going to take to make you people wake up and stop putting these people in positions of power?